Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I just looked at the temperature. It will be made it to a balmy 25 degrees this morning at 10:30, which is a lot better than yesterday. Glad to have you here in Putnam County this morning for the first part of our series. Today, I think you'll enjoy what we have for you. Just a few particulars, and I'll let Sean take off. Bathrooms are in the back right-hand corner. We've got decaf coffee, regular coffee in the kitchen. If you'll look at the coffee package beside the pot, it will tell you what the coffee is. All the sweeteners and whatnot there. We've got hot cider on the stove, and we've got water in there as well for you. And a buffet of goodies back here and popcorn. So y'all clean everything out today when you have a chance. If you need to get up and go to the restroom this morning, if you will, please do so. Kind of orbit away. We've got Putnam County High School here filming the program for us. So if you will, kind of orbit to the outsides instead of walking straight at the camera when you're going to the bathroom. It'll be a lot less editing to do. With that, like all of our extension programs, we're going to have a sign-in sheet this morning, and I'll start it here on the front row. If you haven't signed the sign-in sheet, please do so, and just leave it on an empty chair in the back when y'all get it completed. Thank you again and welcome. Sean?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing? Come on in, Ray. Good morning.
Still got plenty of seats in the back.
All right. I just want to welcome everybody to the January meeting for the County Master Gardeners Association. We tell you a little bit about our group when we get started. We are comprised of University of Georgia Master Gardener volunteers and not Master Gardener volunteers. Anybody is welcome to come to any of our meetings anytime. They're open to the public. If you want to know a little bit more about us, there's some brochures over on the table. And there's an opportunity to sign up for a mailing list that I send out gardening information to people from all around Georgia. So it's not just part of our group. So if you are interested in knowing a little bit more about us, then welcome to come anytime you want to come. I'm going to introduce, he didn't introduce himself, but make a few introductions this morning because this is a little bit different meeting than we normally have. Keith Fielder is our Putnam County Cooperative Extension Coordinator. So he's going to be here helping me for the next few months with the program and providing some technical assistance. So if you have a lead question while you're here, you can probably grab it and ask a question. David Barnes. Oh, David. He's our photographer. He's also one of our master gardeners, but he's an excellent photographer. He's going to be making photographs for us. And Tom Hurst. He actually graduated from Putnam County High School's audio, video, well, from high school, but he was a member of the audio, video, and filmmaking class. He is now at the University of Mobile on a scholarship to study audio and video. He's home for Christmas, and he was providing help because of this cold weather day. Today was the first day of class of the semester. So instead of pulling out the students from the first day of class, Tom agreed to stay with us. And he's going to be videotaping it, which we normally do not do. So we'll explain why just a little bit later. All right. So all that mess being said, on behalf of County Master Gardeners and Putnam County Extension, we want to welcome you to our four-part presentation on gardening implementations. Now, we want to give a little thank you. We did have some sponsors that helped us with our food for today. Although I know many of you brought goodies, which is thankful. Plenty back there. Please feel free to get up anytime and go get something to eat so that we have it back there. The Ace Hardware in Gray is one of our sponsors, which is usually pretty easy to do since his wife works there. So we have an in at the Ace Hardware in Gray. And the Farm Bureau in Putnam County, which if some of you know Sam, according to Keith, he's fixing to be
February 1st, he will be the agency director in Lawrence County.
Okay, so for those of you who know Sam and have done business with the Farm Bureau.
Please leave your business here.
And there's a bunch of master gardeners who have helped get this where it is today. They were out here in the freezing cold yesterday helping me set up chairs and get everything set up. And a little shout out to my number one mom who has done stuffed flyers, put on labels, made baskets, and still has a lot of other tasks on her agenda to do for the next few months. So why are we here? What's this topic about? Well, I'm going to tell you. Most of y'all know I get a lot of harassment from Marion about him being old enough to be my dad. Everybody ends up having issues that come up. I had a really bad summer with a problem with a leg and knee that y'all know that I just got where I couldn't do some of the things that I was normally doing. But what actually put the program into my mind initially was, I pick on Dee Dee. I was down at Lockley, and I think we were talking about getting more guy volunteers at Dirt Diggers, but she made the comment, you know, we really have to change the way that we do things, because as we get older, we're not necessarily able to do things in the same way that we did before. So I went and talked to Keith, and I said, well, you know, what do you think about this program? As far as your feedback from the community, one of the things that he is constantly doing is doing needs assessments for the community based on phone calls that come in, and people who walk in the door and ask him questions about, you know, container gardening or whatever it may be. So what I wanted to do was to do a couple of things. I wanted to introduce you to some issues that are going on with our gardening program, and they're not just about getting old and not being able to do things like we did before. And then we want to provide some information to address some of those needs, and that's part of what this is, and it's broken down into several parts for a reason. And then as our master gardeners, a part of our responsibility is to follow up with those in the community who are not master gardeners and assist with some of those. So this is like a train the trainer. Okay, so y'all can go out and do some of this, okay? So we're going to start off with the first part of our series. We're going to do the boring, I guess you want to say the boring part, is evaluate what our needs are and see where we are with ourselves. First thing you got to do is you got to know that you got to decide, I just can't do some of these things. And that's, you know, it sounds easy. The self-assessment is part of the reason that we continue to stress ourselves, and I can probably pick on Ray back there somewhere. She volunteers for a lot of stuff. And sometimes you just have to learn that you can't keep up that pace of volunteering for this, so you got to decide what are the most important things. And so I want you to be sure you look at yourself and say, hey, I need to decide I need help doing this or this. Now, unfortunately, this is part of for the world, they think you can do everything. This idea of having no limits associated with you can do anything you want to do. Well, you can and you should be able to, but let's be realistic. There are some things that just there's not enough time in the day, and I am one of those people that I don't know how I had time to work. Now that I am retired, I stay busier than I did when I worked. So some of it is just time management. Good morning.
Good morning.
But the one thing what we wanted to do is I didn't want this just to be like a program about getting old. So we're going to address the 3 limitations that we felt like were the most forward in our lives. They may be different for you, but we're going to introduce the physical limitations. This doesn't necessarily have to be with getting old. The time limitations, the pulling on your time, and the space limitations. And a lot of that has to do with people downsizing or living in a smaller house than they did before, or they didn't have that big a house to start with. And improve to have a garden. So let's talk about this. Now, we all have physical limitations, and as we get older, and everybody keeps telling me, you just wait till you get 60, you think 50 is bad. You just wait. I keep hearing this from my 2 grumpy old men over here. Yeah, I should have put that picture of the 2 of them. But, you know, it is what it is. Things get where they don't work as well anymore. And sometimes that's different for different aged people. So we've got some guys, and David's a prime example, that he stays busy, and because of that, he stays active and keeps himself doing a lot of different projects. So if you sit still, you'll be still. But as we all know, and that you don't have to be old to have an accident happen. I've got a very good friend who I've sent one of these products to that had a stroke at 54, and he's now in a wheelchair and paralyzed on one side. And you know, you just don't know. I mean, you can get hit by the Putnam County Express bus down here on the way home. And we hope those things don't happen, but they do. Good morning. Just, there's so much you care about it. But things happen to people every day that make them unable to continue to perform a routine task that they, in the past, had no problem doing. And that was like one of the issues with me, something I've been fighting for a long time, but I got working to get up off the couch. It's just not, it has to be addressed. But the other thing we look at is our time, limits on our time. Now, and I'm not picking on those, but you know, a lot of grandparents are given the responsibility these days for being caregivers for grandchildren because parents are working, or you volunteer too much, or you just can't say no to a project when it comes along. You've got parents that are older that you have to care for your parents or a sibling. There's a lot of things that pull on your time in your life. And the main thing that I wanted to stress, and I think we all understand, is that you've got to have time for yourself. And so no matter what, find the thing that makes you happy and make time for it, whether it's gardening or not. Be sure that you give yourself ample opportunity to enjoy yourself, because if you're not happy, you know, you won't be happy. You won't be happy without the world. And our last topic we're going to talk about in this series is space limitations. And a lot of folks have, and children moved out of the house, they decided to downsize and move to a small home, or they had a small home and gardening area to start with. I go to the Putnam County Primary School, and I don't know how many times I've got questions from the people, the parents there, about, you know, can I grow a tomato plant in a 5-gallon bucket? You know, and they just, I was like, you can grow a tomato plant in anything. But one of the new things that's coming out these days is doing a lot more small space gardening. Not only to make your garden area smaller to work with and manage and keep it up and keep it irrigated with less water, but just the physical fact that some people don't have enough space. So in this, some of the items that we'll be doing, especially in part 4 of our series, is to talk about ways that you could have, like in this photograph, this is a nice little entryway to a really small spot. And so people who live in apartments that want to have a nice patio garden, but want to keep it low maintenance, we're going to be discussing ways to do that. So it's not just about tools to use for your decrepit that helps you make that. There's a little bit of everything in this. So we're going to address several different parts. What we're going to try to do between me and Keith will be helping me with this, is to set up some automation for you, show you how you can set up some easy automation. You don't have to have a $10,000 sprinkler system to irrigate your yard. You can do and put things on timers so that you don't have to worry about them. And also the way that you need to decrease your actual overall maintenance. And that maintenance in the garden is some of the things that most of us don't care anything about doing. It's not the weeding that we want to do, it's the planting flowers and stuff. And we're going to be looking at some ways to change some tools that you may or may not have ever seen before to make it easier on you physically, get you off the ladders. All of you who like to have to get up on ladders, we want to try to eliminate some of that, and just introduce some new products to you that you may not be familiar with. Now this is probably something that is inherent in my genes, that I used to think, and I always thought it kind of cheapened the situation if you had to have help to do something. I guess I was kind of, no, I did all that by myself. I don't have a maid, although now I'd be more than happy to have a maid. I did fire my husband's maid when we got married at 18. He sunbathed naked on his deck at Lake Sinclair, and so the first thing I did was to tell her she had to go. Come to find out later that my mom actually fired an 18-year-old maid first when she got to Spain because my dad had hired a maid to keep the house and where they would keep bread. So it's genetically in our, that we like to do the things ourselves. Okay, so, but over time I've kind of figured out that I don't care if she's 18 now, I'm glad to have a maid come back. If you can afford to have things done for yourself, the things you don't like to do, try to find somebody, and there are people out there that you can pay to do good jobs. I hate to weed. It makes me shake. So I hire somebody to do that. But if you can't, then we're going to be talking about some ways to make that easier, because not everybody has the same financial ability to get things done. Now, throughout this whole program, I don't want y'all just to sit there. We're going to have to ask questions. And if you found a product that you like or a way of doing things that makes things a little bit easier for you, please jump in there. That's what we want to do. Have this as an open discussion. We got a lot of stuff to cover, especially in next month's, to keep it in a reasonable time frame. But please, stick up your hand or holler out. There's nothing about it one way or another. Now, throughout this whole thing, you're going to see the logos and the